Okay, hello, this is Sydney Young with my 5th vlog on the smartphone paradox. This is for chapter 5, titled Outsourcing Memory. So this chapter had a lot to do with memory and how technology has kind of impacted our memory. There's a little bit less about the smartphone specifically, but it does come into play. So to kind of discuss a little bit of a summary about what Dr. Reed proposes in this chapter. There's a lot that is discussed about how technology is very easy. And so you have, like, especially with the smartphone, you have the ability to pick it up and look something up on Google immediately and type in what you want. And then there's all these options for you to click on that should give you the answer. And so it allows us this ability to save time, to save storage in our brains. That comes into that memory play. And it allows us to save space almost, because there's certain things we don't need to remember. Like if you want to look something up about, I think it was World War II, he was quoting in this chapter a lot, you can just look it right up and then you don't have to really remember it because you're able to look it back up again. And he mentions how, Dr. Carr says, which he wrote an article that we read earlier in the semester, this way of trying to save time and space by looking things up and having that really fast simplicity. We kind of start to lose ourselves because we're not formulating our own opinions and ideas, and saving that important information that can kind of make us who we are. And so we're starting to lose who we are as people and our personal memories and experiences by just having this simplicity of getting information fast. I quoted this specifically just because it relates to the title of the book. But Dr. Reed writes, the underlying paradox of our smartphones: the greater the access to information, the lesser the understanding we possess of that information, which I think really sums up this chapter very well, because, with a smartphone, you have immediate access to anything, to cell phone numbers, literally any phone number you could possibly want. You don't have to memorize that anymore. There's a lot of talk about the calculator and how you can just do that on your phone now. And so that easy access to almost anything and everything, the less we start to want to understand that. I don't need to know what, I think it was 52 divided by 12. I don't need to know what that is, because I can just type it into my phone and I'll get the answer right then and there. So I think that's super important and a good way to sum up kind of how, technology gives us an aid to memory, which can be a good thing, but it does differ in ways as well. Another good thing that gets brought up is, as I mentioned before, how you can type into Google kind of whatever you're looking for, and you can get out almost exactly what you want. So he suggests in this chapter that you should pick up your smartphone and go into Google and type how do I, or what if, or something like that. And so I typed into my computer on Google, I typed how do I, and I came up with how do I take a screenshot, how do I renew my passport, and how do I get a passport, which I thought was very interesting because those seem kind of random and not necessarily, together, or maybe that would be directed at me, because I think there is something to be said about previous Google searches and it recommending things for you that you might look up. But these definitely didn't do that. But I did follow that and that example and experiment. And he says that this is known as autocomplete. And autocomplete can kind of lead to a bit of misinformation, because if you're just suggested these things by your Google friend trying to complete your sentence for you, you're probably going to be suggested some misinformation, not necessarily what you're looking for. But when it's that easy, you're going to click on it and you're going to assume that that's the answer that you want. And that brings up issues with, he calls them IAs, so issues with Siri, specifically related to the smartphone, because Apple products have Siri. When you ask her a question, sometimes she can't answer it. So Dr. Reed mentions how if he asks Siri, should he get his child vaccinated, she says that she can't answer that question for him. But if he directs it more one direction, are vaccinations good? It brings up a bunch of articles on why you should vaccinate your child or why they're good. And then if he directs it the opposite spectrum and says why are vaccinations bad, he gets articles on, 10 reasons why you should not vaccinate and, articles related to that. So it kind of it leads to less thinking, in my personal opinion, because you're directed at exactly what you want to hear. If I ask, why are vaccinations bad, then I'm going to be directed at articles on why they're bad, and that would be what I want to hear because that's why I asked. And so I'm going to immediately want to believe what is written in those articles and what's suggested to me. So you're not, I don't know, I feel like you don't form your own ideas and opinions as much because you're just going to take what the internet has given you because it gave it to you fast, and that's a quick way of gathering information. And then that leads into how this idea of technology can make us dumb. So Dr. Reed defines dumbness as the disparity between what we think we know and what we actually know, which I think is very interesting and can be very true, because there is definitely a very big difference between what you think you might know and what you do. And I think that plays a role in, how we source our information and where we're getting it from, quick searches, actually doing detailed research, because if you're doing actual detailed research, you're probably going to find, lots of different things and formulating actual opinions, and that can't necessarily make you dumb. Not saying that just clicking an article right off what you've searched makes you dumb, but, it changes how your opinions and ideas get formulated. But yes, so that is chapter 5 of the smartphone paradox. It's a little bit about what I read and kind of what I think and what I did while reading it. So yes, thank you very much.